In its heyday, the Assassin's Creed games were a nice unique change of pace and absolutely entertaining to play. Despite the rocky introduction the series had, it became a favourite for many gamers everywhere and opened our eyes to see what the 7th generation of gaming had in store for us. However, like all empires and TV series, it does eventually need to come to an end. Hello everyone, I am RedBeakRaven and welcome to a discussion video on the future of the Assassin's Creed series, where I will be discussing a various number of things about the series. I'll talk about what direction I would like to see the series take, what I think is holding it back or at least held it back, and just see if Assassin's Creed does actually have a future. So let's begin. The Assassin's Creed series has been subjected to a slow downfall in both popularity and personal enjoyment. There are many reasons why this could be. Some say it's the yearly installments, while others say that the developers simply do not know what to do with the series. And I think both are valid points, but it could be the combination of the two as well as other issues or situations that have caused Assassin's Creed to become what it has, and that in my opinion is a series that no longer entertains and excites me. The yearly installments certainly haven't helped the series in the way that they've helped Ubisoft's bank account grow, as I feel that's a matter of overconsumption. The more you play, watch or eat something over a short period of time, the less entertaining or nice it becomes. For some of the bigger fans it will take longer, but eventually most people will just grow weary of it and it essentially starts to become more of a chore. If my personal experience has shown me anything, it's that yearly installments of game series are a bad idea, unless it's a sports game, because those things just seem immortal. But financially it's a good idea, but even that will suffer in the long run as the profits will slowly become lower and lower as time goes on. There may be a few ups in that time, but it still won't stop that number going down. A fine example of this is Call of Duty. If Call of Duty is still around in 10 years time, then I will buy the most expensive, affordable collector's edition for the COD game that releases in 2026 and throw it off a bridge. Or I'll just give it to charity. There's too many people out there throwing money out the window. Anyways, if the Call of Duty sales statistics are right, then the series is slowly earning less and less every game. Don't get me wrong, it still sells really well and manages to get in the charts, but it clearly isn't as popular as it used to be. You know, I remember the hype that surrounded the Modern Warfare series. It was unbelievable, and the hype for the new games today is nothing compared to how it used to be. Personally, I lost interest in the series after Call of Duty Ghosts. I barely completed that game. The aliens were a good idea though. The one time they actually decided to do something completely different, then they abandoned it and went back to zombies. I've really gone off topic now, so back to Assassin's Creed. So yes, it seems that Assassin's Creed is or was suffering from quite a rapid drop actually, if the sales figures are anything to go by, as it seems that Syndicate didn't do nowhere near as well as 1, 2, 3 and Black Flag. Now that might be due to how bad Unity was, but I personally think it was due to a number of different reasons on top of that. If I were to take an educated guess, I'd say that the reasons behind not as many people buying Syndicate are similar to why I didn't buy it. Now first of all, I haven't played Syndicate, so don't take my word for it that it's a good or bad game. I've heard it's a lot better than the likes of Assassin's Creed 3 and definitely better than Unity, but the reasons I never touched it were this. I was getting really bored of seeing the series year after year after year. There was no excitement for it because I knew that there would be another one in a year, if not less than a year's time, and I don't have a lot of time on my hands as it is, so I would like at least a year to drop in and out of this game without the worry of completing it in time for a new one. I was also tired of seeing the same gameplay mechanics again and again. I'm talking about climbing towers all the time, the 1 million collectibles in the game, the A to B missions, and supposedly 60 minutes of free extra content for pre-ordering it on a specific console. Who in the meeting room thought that was a good idea? To be fair, the 60 minutes of extra content were not that great anyway, so it wasn't like you were missing out on much if you didn't get it. Also, Unity was essentially the breaking point. It's what caused me to tip over the edge and say, you know what, I don't really like this series anymore. So that's why I didn't buy Assassin's Creed Syndicate, because I knew I would experience a lot of what I already have. I did like the setting, it was great to see the series come to my home country, but sadly it wasn't enough to get me interested. If you want to know why I didn't like Unity, then you may as well go and read the average scored reviews on Metacritic. I'm not going to turn this into a video where all I do is complain about Unity, so all I will say is that the game wasn't ready for release, and even if it was, it still wouldn't have saved the game. It seems Unity has indeed scarred Ubisoft's already damaged track record for a long time yet, and that is why I am glad to see Ubisoft are changing their tactics. Earlier this year, Ubisoft stated that they won't be releasing an Assassin's Creed game this year, and that they are stepping back and re-examining the franchise. Ubisoft CEO Yves Guillemot, I apologise if I mispronounced that, said that the series may never go back back to yearly releases, and in my opinion, that is a step towards the series heading in the right direction. On top of this information, Eve recently did an interview where he basically stated that there won't be another Assassin's Creed anytime soon, which presumably means we may not see it next year either. And you know what? I'm completely fine with that, because if you read what he actually said, you'll see that he goes on to say, what we saw in the development of the next Assassin's Creed was that we had an opportunity to take it to another level. That is what I like to see, a studio that realises they need more time and they are actually giving it. When the topic of a release date was in the air, Eve said that the game will be out when it's ready. Now that sounds awfully familiar. Didn't Bethesda essentially say the same thing? Okay, so you can't deny that a lot of studios are learning from what Bethesda did with Fallout 4. It just has to be said. And that's not a complaint. I wish everyone would announce their games 5 or 6 months before release. So yes, Ubisoft are taking their time with the series, so hopefully that, along with all the feedback they've been given from the fans, will allow them to create an Assassin's Creed game that is just as good, if not better, than Assassin's Creed 2, which was the best game in the franchise in my opinion. So let's talk about what I actually started to talk about, which was an argument between it being released on a yearly basis and the devs not knowing what to do with the series. So like I said, I feel it's both of those reasons on top of a bunch of other reasons for why the series is no longer that good. To me anyways. Please don't forget that this is all one man's opinion. What I mean by the devs not knowing what to do with it is essentially what they are doing in relation to the overall concept and what's happening in the modern day side of things. First off, I will say that I personally think that killing Desmond was a big mistake. For the future side of things anyways. I don't know what they were trying to do with the modern day aspect of the game in Assassin's Creed 4 or even in Unity, but it wasn't great whatever it was. It seemed like Ubisoft had no idea where to go with it. Now I think some fans of the series never really cared for Desmond's story, and that's completely understandable because I think we all are more interested in the Ancestors storyline. Now the problem we have here is that they have set the foundations for the entire universe, as in the real proper setting for the game is essentially their version of modern day society. We step into the shoes of someone in the modern day setting and then use the Animus to transport ourselves into the shoes of an assassin or a Templar from the past. So what I'm trying to say is that if they turned around and ditched the whole Animus modern day idea, then that would just leave a giant gap in the game's universe. Some people would probably be fine with that, as they may never have wanted it to be like that in the first place, and others like myself will turn around and say, well, that was just a waste of time, wasn't it? One of the many things I loved about Assassin's Creed was the dual storylines. It kind of kept the experience fresh and provided us with an interesting alternate reality. And this is where I'm going to start talking about what I would like to see in the future, what direction I would like it to take. The interesting alternate reality setting is not necessarily the modern day setting itself, but actually the changes in history that Ubisoft make. I've always been fascinated by history and how much of it is actually fact. Assassin's Creed explores that whole situation of history is written by the victors saying, or the simple fact that anyone can write a book and label it as factual history. No matter how much research we do on a daily basis about an event 200 or 300 years ago, we still most likely will never know the truth of what actually happened. A good example of this is the debate about whether or not King Richard III was indeed the villain he was made out to be. The general perception of him was that he murdered his nephews and was a bad king. But the thing is, guess who wrote about him this way? The Tudors, the family that overthrew Richard III. Propaganda to legitimise dynasties is nothing really new, so nowadays it's hard to believe who's right. And that's what I loved about the truth in Assassin's Creed 2. It explored the idea that Adam and Eve's story was different to what it is commonly known to be. That is what I would like to see more of in future Assassin's Creed games. Bring back the Adam and Eve alternate Bible stories. The truth, I believe, has been one of the most requested aspects to return to the series, and the only way I could see this being a waste of time is if everyone lost interest in this part of the story due to the lack of interest in the first civilization mystery. Granted, I wouldn't be as invested in this as I was before, but there is still a lot of potential to be had there. So if they were going to stick to the modern day storyline, then I would say either bring Desmond back, make it interesting, or come up with an entirely different character and see if that works. One way to implement this into the game would be, instead of progressing through time, why not travel backwards in time? Egypt has been a largely requested setting. How about India in the late 1700s, or China during the days of the Mongol Empire and the Yuan dynasty? How about medieval France or the not so holy Roman Empire? England or France during the 100 Years' War? You know, Assassin's Creed Unity's intro made me crave for the series to go back to the 11th, 12th or even 13th century. You could even go back to the Middle East during the Crusades, or again England but during King Edward's conquest of the British Isles. I know that I'm just spouting out locations now, but there's a huge gap between Assassin's Creed 1 and 2. Why not explore that and please just god, get rid of the ranged weaponry. However, if they do want to keep going forward, then I think the series is going to need a complete revamp. I would actually like to see them take it to modern day, or maybe during World War II. Someone actually said to me the other day about Assassin's Creed being set in America during the Wild West, but I don't really know if that would actually work in my opinion. I feel that Assassin's Creed's combat system doesn't really allow it to be flexible with ranged weaponry, which is why I think they need a complete revamp if they keep going forward. On that note, I would like to see a better combat system or the same one as Black Flags, because I don't know how it was in Syndicate, but Unity's was absolutely horrible. I appreciate them taking a different approach, but it just didn't work for me. Now, seeing as though I've essentially driven this discussion into a wish list, I'm going to stop that there by saying that I think they would do well by focusing on more content that doesn't call for repetitive quests and a never-ending amount of collectibles. Feathers were fun, keys for armor, yeah, that was cool too, but artifacts, cockades, different chests, newspapers, almanac pages, notes in a bottle, how many do you need? They just feel like cheap, quick and easy content fillers, if I'm honest. I could be wrong, it might take a lot of time and effort to put them in, but I don't think there's a need for that many really. How about assassination missions that don't feel exactly the same as each other, or mini games of a sort, something that isn't too repetitive where the reward is worth the time put into it. As for the multiplayer component of the series, well, I feel like it's had its day to be honest. I like the co-op side of things they did with Unity, so I suppose I'd like to see in the future a game with a big focus on co-op rather than competitive, but that's just me. I don't really enjoy competitive multiplayer anymore. To be honest, I probably wouldn't even be that fussed about Assassin's Creed having multiplayer, but for those who are, then I think co-op with a little bit of competitive might be the way to go. At the end of the day, I think I am ready to give Assassin's Creed one more shot at interesting me, and as I said before, with the way Ubisoft is going about the next installment, I have hopes that they'll try new things and bring old things back while keeping Assassin's Creed, you know, Assassin's Creed. I just hope that they make a decent story, as this series is becoming increasingly difficult to follow. I'm glad to see that so far they aren't focusing on releasing the next one ASAP, but time will tell. Hopefully a few years absent Assassin's Creed will do both us and the franchise some good. Although with the two Chronicle games that were released this year as well as the upcoming film adaptation, it's not exactly the ideal situation of being Assassin's Creed free for at least a year. Anyways, I think I've rambled on enough about this, so let me know in the comments below what you're thinking about the Assassin's Creed series. Would you like to see another game? Should the series be buried and Ubisoft move on? What would you want to see in another Assassin's Creed game? Where do you think the next one should be set? And post all your answers in the comments below, and click the like button if you like this video. You can also follow me on Twitter or like me on Facebook for updates. You'll find the links near the bottom of the description. So that's all from me. Until next time, I'll see you soon.